Hey, welcome back to the channel. So I've really been enjoying the process of this and showing you and educating you on bonsai. So I thought, it's actually a nice time to start really right from the basics, and you guys can follow the journey and we can grow together. So today we're going to be styling a Joburg Gold. So you can see how it's thickened up quite nicely over here. So now this is an ideal time to start turning it into a bonsai. So you can see how I've let this tree grow quite wild. I've allowed it to thicken up by growing quite tall, and that's helped thicken up the base of the tree. But now it's time to start giving the tree a bit of taper. So I'm going to start cleaning up the base of the tree. So you can see over here, there's some dead twigs. They just snap off right away. So we can even just break them off, or we can use our bonsai scissors to give them a nice cut. So I'm just going to remove some of this dead stuff off the tree, just like this. So over here, you can see how this branch is crossing over. So this is not ideal. We could always wire it this way, but it's going to look a bit awkward from this point because you can see the direction is going inward. So I'm just going to remove it for now. And now, because I've removed that, I've noticed a few more other dead branches in the tree. So I'm just going to trim them off. I'm going to go as flush as possible. Just like that. Clean up all these dead things. Okay, so now over here, you can see there's quite a big stump over here. So originally I cut this and then I let these new shoots get stronger and healthier so that this branch looks a little bit more compacted and a little bit more natural. So now, because this branch has died back and died off, I can remove it now. So I'm going to come in with my concave cutters and I'm just going to remove it right away. And I'm going to clean up this stump over here. Now if I turn the tree around like that, you can notice there's one over there. You can see there's a dead stump over there, so we're just going to trim that off. And I'm going to go as close to the trunk as possible, just cleaning it up nicely. So you can see that this branch right over here is grown right in between what we call the armpit or the triangle of the tree. So you can see these two branches are splitting, and this is growing directly in the middle. So it's a good candidate to also remove so we can start to see the tree a bit better. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to trim that off just like that. And now I can notice a few more dead branches. So I'm just cleaning these all up. There's another stump. Cool. Now it's starting to look a lot more clean. We can start seeing the base of the tree and we can start to see the natural shape the tree has. So you can see how this branch is exceptionally straight. There's no excitement or movement in it. So if I had to eliminate this branch, you can see how we would have this branch that is growing to the side. It's going to have a lot more movement in the tree. And again, we're going to compress the tree in and compact it so that it's in proportion to the thickness of the base. So what I'm going to do over here, I'm going to come in and I'm going to chop that branch off. And there you have it. So it looks daunting, but after a while, how beautiful is that curve in the tree? So we'll obviously clean this up a little bit more, but I'm just going to let this die off and then I can carve this down, which we could do together. So you can see over here now is going to be a nice bottom main branch. So this will be the most thickest dominant branch over here. You can see this could be your second branch. We could find a third branch and then we can start developing the apex. So I'm just going to start trimming off a few branches that we don't need. So you can see over here, because it's in that curve, we want to rather eliminate it and there's a nice branch above it, so we won't need that. So I'm going to just trim off anything I don't need. You can see over here, there are quite a few branches coming from one section. So this bigger, stronger branch is going to start covering this little branch down here. So we definitely need to get rid of one and just start developing one of the branches. So I'm going to go for the one that's growing on top, and I'm just going to trim that off. And now we have one nice little branch to the side. And remember, this tree isn't going to look like a beautiful, perfect bonsai. We're getting there. We're just taking our time and we're slowly starting to develop it. So over here, you can see we've got another branch that grows over here, so we can keep that for now. We've got a nice branch that could swoop on this side. This is a nice dead stump that I'm just going to remove. Cool, that's looking nice and clean. Just a few more dead branches, and then we can start wiring a bit of the branches. So now we're going to start wiring the Joburg Gold. You can see I'm going to be using the 2-branch technique. You can also refer to some of my earlier episodes where I do discuss this. But right now I'm just going to start measuring how much wire I need. So this piece of wire will follow this branch. This piece of wire will follow that branch over there. So I've measured my wire. Cool, so I'm going to place my thumb to support the wire. I'm going to come from under and I'm going to go over nicely like that. Now I can support this branch with my thumb, and I'm just going to keep wiring in between all these bits of foliage. I must say it's quite hard to wire in front of a camera with all these weird angles. I'm not used to it. And then I'm going to take this piece of wire and I'm going to start wiring this branch. So you can see how we're using one piece of wire to wire 2 branches. And then if you've got any excess wire, we're just going to trim that off to neaten it up. Just like that. So you can see we've wired these 2 branches over here. So I'm going to go through the tree and just wire all the branches. So I've put on all the wire, on all the branches. I wasn't too, worried about where I put them. All I was worried about is just putting on all the wire. So now we're going to start putting them into their places. So you can see how all the branches are very long and straight. So again, there's not much excitement in a straight branch, and it's not very natural. So what I'm going to start doing is just giving all the branches a bit more movement. So you can see how the tree, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done, but I'm just basically establishing the bone structure of the tree, and then from there we'll start developing the finer bits of foliage. So you can see how these 2 branches grow from one point. So these are going to work as one entity. They're going to work together, creating one pad. So we want them to flow together. So I'm going to just start by bending these branches just to give it some natural flow. You can see I'm going very gentle and I'm not being too dramatic, just giving it a little bit more natural flow to the tree. I'm starting to let it hang a bit lower just to symbolize that age. And you can see how I've bent this one. Now it would be silly to not let this branch work with this one because then it looks like they're going to start competing. So what we're going to start doing is almost as if they're growing together. So what is movement on the tree? So it's basically taking these straight branches and giving it a bit more flow. So I do address this in a few previous episodes, so please go check those out, and you can also have a look at what I mean by movement in the branches. But you can see how I'm giving it some natural flow to the tree, and like I said, I want these two branches to work together. So we're just going to keep going. Remember, this is also a creative process. So sometimes it doesn't always work the way you want it to work, but then you kind of just figure out a new plan and you just go with the flow. So you can see how I'm starting to set one nice pad over here. Then I'm going to work around the tree and I'm going to start setting another pad here. Same example, these two branches are growing from one section. So they're going to work together instead of competing with each other. So I'm going to come, bend over my thumb. And I always like to do nice natural S shapes. But you can do whatever you want as long as each branch is growing in its own direction. You don't want to twist the branches together. You don't want these branches to start competing. You want them to all grow in their own direction, but working together. So with bonsai, you always generally look for negative space in the tree. So you can see over here, I'm filling up all this negative space on the tree. So this would naturally be a nice back branch to the tree. I'm almost thinking this can be a nice front of the tree. And then you can see how there's a little bit more depth to the tree. So now I'm just going to start by wiring these branches. Give it a bit more movement. So you can see how it's starting to develop quite nicely, but if you see at the top, there's quite a lot of negative space. It's looking very bare. This is very normal because obviously, remember, we chopped off this massive big branch and we're starting to give more taper to the tree. So you can see the thinner branch is going to start becoming the new leader, and all these little bits of foliage are going to turn into new branches, and then we're going to start wiring those down into all of this negative space. So the idea of this tree is, you can see here now, I'm going to start giving the leader a bit of movement, and I'm just going to let it end off like this. So all these bits of foliage we can start wiring down. You can see when this gets a bit stronger, this branch is going to grow down here into this space, into this nice negative space over here. This branch will get fuller and fill out this negative space here. But the idea is the tree is going to be about this high. You can see how also the branches are quite long, and like I say, they're quite long and leggy. So eventually when the tree has settled, we can also start trimming these branches back to start developing more finer branches on the tree. So that was me styling a little Joburg Gold. So I know these plants are actually native to Australia, but if any of our viewers know why they're called a Joburg Gold, please drop it in the comments. So I really love spending time with you. Thank you so much, and I'll see you all next week Saturday. Please don't forget to subscribe and give me a follow on Instagram.